that time of week once more for Muji and Dan to give you the comic store. It's time to open up those bags and boards, fans. Welcome to Get Your Pulls.
Welcome to Get Your Pulls, number 91. 91, possibly my second favorite year in wrestling. It's Mooj.
It was a good year. It's Dan. And our comic fans are going to be so pissed at us because it's like the third week in a row we brought up wrestling in the opening.
It's true, but WWE Network, it'll wear off. We won't be talking about it all the time. Just like all good things, it'll get a little old at some point, but just reminded. But anyways, happy to be back. A couple days late this week, but cool. Trying to dodge these fucking storms.
Yeah, hope everybody stayed dry and didn't have any structural damage or loss of life. There's a lot of casualties of damn nasty thunderstorms and tornadoes came sweeping through our locale here in the southeast, and it was not fun. Had to take cover, but we survived, so that's good.
I was afraid the power was going to go out, so I had a nice, I got like a flashlight you wear on your head. I don't know what those are called. Certain movies, miners wore them, but now it's just, if you fucking gotta climb under your house or something.
That would be a headlamp.
Yeah, that's it, a headlamp. Mine I bought, my mom bought it for me actually. Basically out of the pure laziness of when I walk my dog in the dark, now I don't have to carry a flashlight. I just now wear one on my head. So if somebody drives by at night and sees me with a headlamp and doesn't see the dog, they probably think that I'm just the new serial killer in town. But anyways, I had one of those and a stack of comics ready, so if the power went out, I was just going to read comics using my nifty headlamp, but...
Yes, you were set.
Yes.
That's my go-to plan when the power goes out, is, make sure my kid's occupied, preferably asleep, but if she's awake, then we do something cool. But if she's asleep especially, then I'm getting my lantern out, and I'm cuddling up under a blanket, and I'm reading comics.
Yeah, absolutely. But some news this week. Seems like there's a big convention every single day. This week was no exception. C2E2, Chicago's big con.
Oh, that's right.
It happened just 1 week removed from, what was it, Emerald City last week?
Yes. No, WonderCon.
WonderCon. How the fuck, it's like, how can you keep any of these cons in order? And what's up with the people that go to all of them? But yeah, C2E2, big con Chicago. Actually, some news at this one on books and whatnot. We got a couple of things. Marvel attempting to spoil anything that's ever going to happen and hope that you're never surprised, much as DC was. At least DC spoiled Damian Wayne dying 2 days before. Marvel officially announced the death of Wolverine. That'll be happening in September to try to go against 3D month number 2. They've announced Wolverine's going to die. And there's going to be a bunch of books about it. So if you're reading Wolverine and you're like, oh man, things are going bad, he might die, well,
Spoiler alert.
I'm sure we're not spoiling it. I'm sure if you've been on Twitter for a second, it was trending. It's on the front of the Yahoo page. They've announced that they're going to kill Wolverine. I wonder, comics are like no other place, in The Godfather Part 1, they weren't like, come see The Godfather 2, because we're gonna kill fucking 40-year-old spoilers. It's like Michael's gonna have to kill his brother. Fredo's gonna die, so go to the theater and see Fredo get killed. That's not how they do it. That's not how anybody else does it.
No, I can't for the life of me understand why the fuck they keep doing that, and it's really irritating. Like Wolverine, hated by many comic book purists, a favorite of mine, always has been one of my favorite Marvel characters. I know that no death is permanent, especially in Marvel, and my God, they'll have him back by the time the next apocalypse
but you could treat it.
out.
But you could treat it like maybe it is. I feel like comics has the same problem when it comes to deaths as pro wrestling does when it just comes to wrestling in general. Sorry to bring it up again, but it's an easy comparison to make. Where in wrestling they really want to beat it to your face it's not real. In comics, want to beat to your face these deaths. So like, wink wink, we're going to kill Wolverine, so why don't you guys come out and buy 1 million copies of the book, even though he's going to come back. So BTW, that comic's not going to be worth $3 a year from now. Like, so whatever, but, we're definitely going to bring him back, but aren't you interested to see how we're going to kill him and how we're going to bring him back? Aren't you? Aren't you?
Wink, wink.
Yeah. And once again, the same problem movies and stuff have. It's the same thing where, you know, even though Wolverine's probably going to come back, like, don't throw it in our face. Because I'm sure weeks after this happens, they're going to preview the big March event of Resurrection of Wolverine. Like, oh yeah, he's coming back. We knew he was. Blah blah blah. It just.
And fucking... like another thing that really irritates me about that is like if you really are a sucker for and a fan of the Marvel continuity, I still am at heart to a degree, but certainly the more they piss on you over the years, you kind of just pick and choose your own continuity there. But so I'm a fan of the Marvel continuity and the things that are out there. How many famous stories that take place in the future are based on Wolverine? So it's like he's almost one of those characters, because of the healing factor, because of what he's known for, that he's never gonna die.
Yeah, he's coming back.
I just don't understand why they think this is a good idea, other than they know it's gonna pop sales, and it's I don't know. It's kind of fucked up because people are gonna buy it. So who am I to say?
And we'll see how much it does pop sales, because another thing that always does better are these number one books, but we're seeing that a lot of these things have reversed. Like, we've seen, they relaunched Daredevil, and their big thing is the reason we're relaunching is because the number one sells better than number 39. Of course it does. But guess what? Number 2 sold worse than number 38 or 37 or 36, 35. Like, these number ones are causing people to have an opportunity to drop books, as it seems. The speculators are still coming in, grabbing up the number ones, but your weekly customers are dropping, so by the time you get to book 5, it's like, oops, we're selling less. Like, it ends up losing you money in the long run. And I feel like the same thing with these deaths. I think people have just learned, like, oh, you're killing Wolverine. He's coming back. It's not like having the death of Gwen Stacy, where she's never coming back. So that comic is a huge comic worth a bunch of money. Wolverine, you're like, he's going to be back. Like, it's going to be worth about the same as X-Men number 1. So why would people even speculate on it? And is it that interesting when you know the outcome? I mean, who wants to fucking read stories where you know what's going to happen? Okay, he's going to die. He's going to come back. Who cares in between? Like, the beginning and the end.
Right,
like,
and it's funny because you were on the fence about picking up the second volume of the Paul Cornell Wolverine, where they talked about the possible heel turn and all these other things. And so, you didn't catch it, but you thought maybe I'll check that in trade.
And now
but why the fuck would you now?
No, I know the end of the story. Like, I think publishers are starting to have this big problem. And movies, too, where movie previews want to show you 5/6 of the movie. People are having this, like, issue where they feel like people want to know what's going to happen, and they're more interested in just seeing how it happens. But there's still a lot of people who would like to be surprised, it's the same exact reason I don't go out and read all the Game of Thrones books, because I like to be watching TV and be like, oh, shit. A lot of people love that. Like, that's one of the main reasons that, like, a show, like, it's the most popular show on HBO. It's getting almost the same amount of people watching it as Walking Dead, and it's not on cable. And a huge part of that are the crazy episodes that nobody sees coming, where, they've got 8 million people watching, and they've sold, maybe 1 million or 2 books. So the idea is that, at least more than half the audience has fucking no idea what's going to happen, and that's popular. Same with the Walking Dead TV show. That's one of the big things, is nobody ever knows who's safe, who's going to die. People like to be surprised. So I just think it's comics shooting themselves in the foot. I know the idea is you announce Wolverine's going to die, so a bunch of people are going to put on their list because they want to have that issue. Okay. Well, what if you send out to the fucking people who run the shops and stuff, hey, you probably want to order a bunch of this issue. Don't you think if people find out on Thursday that on Wednesday Wolverine died in a book, they're going to run to the comic store and buy them anyways? Plus, people are going to be interested. They don't have 6 months to think about it. Like, now you're just when's that going to happen?
Mouth from the shock and the surprise.
And that surprise of, oh shit, I better go grab this book. I just think it's just a lame practice in general. Like, I hate it. There's no way to avoid it too. It's not even like you have to go looking for these things or going in forums or even going on comic book pages. It's always trending. Like when they
on my Facebook feed or in a Yahoo News article. I mean, you can
They show stuff on TV when they announced Damian Wayne was dying albeit 2 days before it happened. But that Monday, it was on fucking, like, Good Morning America. Robin's dying Wednesday. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, comics has zero spoiler etiquette. It's the absolute worst. And so that also gets me where they chap their butts where, like, people will run a story of, like, what's going to happen in the comic on Wednesday. And then you see, like, the person that wrote the comic comes and, like, gets mad on Twitter about it. Your fucking companies announce it all the time, so don't give me that. Like, it's Marvel and DC are the ones to blame for, like, the fucking spoiler culture that's comics. Just invented something. Spoiler culture.
Yeah, fuck spoiler culture.
Yeah, fuck spoiler culture. But anyways, they announced that. So they announced that might be a good story. They're going to get writers for it. I would just like to not know about it. But Death of Wolverine, the miniseries, will be written by old Charlie Soule. Because, you know, he wants to be writing 20 books by then. It's his goal. So he's writing that. And then we've got, and then the art will be done by somebody McKibben. Can't remember his first name. Steve, that's correct. So, good team there. Also, they're going to have some other mini-series that tie into the Death of Wolverine series.
Of course they are.
Yes, of course. 8 of those. They've announced those. It's called World Without Wolverine. So, you know, there'll be a bunch of things about characters and how they deal with Wolverine not being around. Those books will be written by the Scott Snyder disciple teams of Kyle Higgins, James Tynion, and Marguerite Bennett. All Snyder, all bros of Snyder.
Jumping and doing a little Marvel work. That's interesting.
Yeah, none of those people have exclusive DC contracts, so yeah, they got themselves a little bit of Marvel work. But I just thought it was funny. Those are the 3 names I saw announced. I heard there's gonna be a handful of books, so there's probably more than them. But those are the 3 I saw, and I was like, oh, the Scott Snyder Friend Club are going to be writing all these books. Also announced, because damn if it's just been way too long since one of these, the next big Marvel event, which I think this probably goes hand in hand with the fact that since Avengers vs. X-Men, the events have kind of sold less and less. I mean, they're all still sell well, but nothing near how Avengers vs. X-Men did. A new miniseries called Axis. That's right, the A and the X stand for Avengers and X-Men, another Avengers and X-Men Marvel event. Don't know what it's about, but that's the next big event where the Avengers and the X-Men are going to fight.
Don't know what it's about, but I won't be buying it.
No, please do something new. And then, a little bit of cool news. Even though you can't have news announced without some people being like, oh no! Justice League confirmed. An executive order of Burton's confirmed it will be the next movie after whatever they're going to call the Batman vs. Superman movie, which won't be Justice League. Seems like the rumors and the speculation and the theory come up with here on Getchyapulls on Potty Humor. Potty Humor on YouTube. No.com yet. Maybe one day again. That we might be onto something. That the idea, it looks like they are going to shoot both movies back to back. That's the big rumor, and shoot them all at once, and then we'll be getting Justice League or Batman vs. Superman, of course, in 2016, and then they're saying Justice League will likely come out the very next year, and at worst in 2018. It'll probably be the next summer, or it could be 2 years, but they'll be coming out very soon, very quickly after one another, so that rules. Don't know how anybody can see that as negative, but they do. They're just like, oh, why are they doing it different than Marvel? Why aren't they copying exactly what Marvel did? Well, if they were copying exactly what Marvel did, people were like, oh, look, Warner Brothers copying Marvel. They want to be Marvel. How about watch the fucking movies and see? Zack Snyder going to be directing them all, too, so...
Yeah, that's exciting as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I think, doing it as a combined shoot is smart. Hopefully it does come out the next year. I'd really hate to wait till 2018 to see a Justice League movie. I'm 33 now. I'd be fucking 37 then.
In a row.
I know.
Speaking of jokes.
I don't want to be pushing 40 when Justice League comes out. I mean, I'll be 50 and watching it. That's not, I don't know. It's just a weird thing to me. Like, It feels so fucking far away.
It does feel that far away. Sure, I mean, we're in 2014, so I mean, we're not getting Batman and Superman till 2016, so really once that movie comes out, that's not that long to go after that. But
like my daughter will be like 7 then.
Yeah, she'll be old enough to like want to see those movies and actually know what's happening by then.
So maybe it's not so bad.
Yeah, maybe not. Unless Superman beheads somebody in it, but I think you're the type of dad that can explain away a beheading to a kid. We are the generation that saw Batman fucking 89, and then even more so, we saw Batman Returns while we were in elementary school, and we came out fine. We were we had no nightmares. We weren't freaked out. Penguin biting the guy's nose was funny to me as a kid, and then later on I was like, that was a little messed up. But then looking back on as a kid, I was like, I guess not, because I was a kid and it didn't like freak me out or think biting noses was okay, and it didn't scare me. So maybe kids can take a little bit more than you think.
Yeah, kids are fucking way smarter than you think, and also it's like, you know, you have to distinguish fantasy from reality with your children.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain levels of violence that, probably more than you want to process. You don't want your kid
watching a movie
a PG-13 movie leaked for a fucking kid over 5 years old, if you are just any normal, like, balanced kid, and you don't have, like, you know, and it's also a parent's responsibility. If the kid's got some mental issues or something, you maybe want to fucking hold off on that shit.
And you can judge, like, what they like. You show them something like that and it scares them, you don't show them those type of movies anymore.
Exactly.
I saw Halloween when I was 5. That was too young. That wasn't on my parents. That was on my crazy uncle babysitting. He let me see Halloween. I definitely had fucking nightmares for a couple weeks, but it made me a Halloween fan for life. A couple years later, I was like, I want to see the rest of them now that I'm like 8. You know.
It's like, that scared the shit out of me. Yeah. Give me more.
I think people, when it comes to that stuff, like, forget themselves. Like, it's hard once you get older to like think back to when you were a certain age. Because you think back to, like, should I be showing, like, a 9-year-old, like, you know, The Dark Knight? Like, you know, there's some, like, violence and stuff in it, blah, blah. And you think back, if I was in 4th grade, I would have definitely loved that movie and it wouldn't have bothered me. It's like people don't put the two things together of, like, how old you actually are and, like, what you're actually watching. Once said, best example ever for me is I was in kindergarten when Batman 89 came out, and the Joker messed up a girl's face. That's something that people now would look at and be like, oh, that's sketchy. He burnt that guy alive. There was all sorts of things in that movie that you could look at as being like, you know, a bit sketchy. And as a kid, you're just like, oh, it was awesome as Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah. But anyways, so that's that news. They announced Cyborg has been cast, so that rules. So he's going to be in it. Bit of an unknown guy, but it's still cool. They got, so now we've got confirmed for Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Cyborg, with still The Rock in an unnamed role, and it isn't Green Lantern according to him.
Possibly Black Adam.
Well, yeah, I mean that's what he's been kind of throwing out there, and he does look like Black Adam.
He looks the most like Black Adam. I've always thought Black Adam looked like The Rock.
2000 Rock looked exactly like.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we've got The Rock in an unnamed role, and still Green Lantern is up in the air. There's still the rumors that they might go back to Ryan Reynolds and just say fuck it, and because I mean he was fine. He wasn't the reason that movie wasn't great, but or you know we may end up getting somebody different. Also just for purposes of cast, you know, having some diversity. You know, there is a bunch of talk of Jon Stewart being in it, but anyways, like I said, I'm not freaked out by like all the people are going to be in it because basically like. Without spelling it out, sending a memo. And I don't understand the people who have such strong opinions on these things. Like, if you just read a few things, like how you either forget or just totally disregard kind of what they're throwing out, they've pretty much thrown out, like, this is just going to be Batman and Superman movie, and then there's going to be essentially cameos by the rest of these people to set up Justice League. How is that going to jumble up the movie? Like, that's, like, the way that almost everybody views it is, it's going to be Batman and Superman. It's a pretty set up movie. And it's going to address what people got mad about in real life through the movie, which another thing that's been bugging me is like, how come people don't get mad at the actual characters in movies anymore? They get mad that the writers like chose to make them do this. Like people are mad.
It's the wrestling culture again.
Yeah, people are mad about Man of Steel because Superman, because their version in their mind that they don't own, but the one that they've built through their own imagination throughout their life, even though he's killed a bunch of people in comics before, BT Dub. Superman, wouldn't destroy a city like that. He wouldn't let that happen. And he wouldn't kill somebody. Well, how about, instead of like being in the movie, being like, oh, this is not what I would have written if somebody would let me write a Superman movie, which they won't because I'm not a writer. Instead, why don't you just be like, man, Clark, that sucks. I'm disappointed. You shouldn't have acted that way. And the second movie, from all what everybody said, is going to be a lot of fucking Bruce Wayne being like, he's going to be more responsible. He shouldn't fuck that city up. And then you've got tenured Batman coming and teach Superman about how you actually go about stopping crime without fucking everything up. He shows up, they probably get in a fight, then he becomes a bit of his mentor, then they fight Lex Luthor. Seems like a great movie for me.
Fucking yeah.
It seems great. How about you, when you go into the movie, like, fucking pay attention to the movie and don't pay attention to, like, what you want and want to happen. Game of Thrones has been that way lately. This week, apparently, we're behind in the book on purpose. Apparently, this week's Game of Thrones episode, a bunch of people were saying, is like 85% different than the book. They're like, a lot of people are like, I don't know what's going to happen because some of the scenes, kind of spoilers if you don't watch the show or whatever, but not really even big spoilers. Like Bran being like captured out there by the people who are taking over Craster's. Not in the book at all. It said Bran never, he just keeps going off and never really comes across anybody at this point in the next two books. And especially if Jon Snow gets there and sees them or does whatever, it's like they've never crossed each other's paths ever again in the books at this point. So people, of course, are freaked out instead of being like, oh, I didn't see that coming. That surprised me. People are like, no, it's not exactly what I knew was going to happen. No. Like, I want to see what I know.
That's a really fucked up way to enjoy
Why
entertainment.
do people hate surprises now?
Yeah, like
another.
You don't have to know everything.
Yeah.
That's the point of fucking entertainment. Sit back and be entertained. Or don't. And don't watch something else.
Yeah, but don't watch things with the expectation of like, oh, I can't wait for this to happen, and then when it don't. And especially when it's even something like Superman, we're like, I know exactly how Superman should act in this situation. It's like, no, you don't, because fucking somebody else wrote it, and he's only going to act the way that you want him to. But anyway.
It was save an innocent family or fucking murder his countrymen.
Yes. Or a Superman, at this point, too, people don't even put that movie in perspective. I won't talk about Man of Steel for an hour, but a quick minute.
But we could, yeah. I could bitch about everyone's hate and how awesome that movie actually is.
Yeah, I seriously feel like Man of Steel, it wasn't as good as I hoped for, but it was still great. That trailer was the trailer for the best movie of all time, and it wasn't the best movie of all time, but it was still really good. And I honestly feel like if Batman vs. Superman is good and Justice League is good, that 5 years from now, people are going to look back and be like, oh, like I see what they were doing, and they're going to have way more respect for the movie. And to those people right now, I'll call you douches for having no imagination or no foresight in like what's happening. Like, people judge that movie, they judge it by the fact that Superman's a character they've known forever, and in everyone's mind, he's the Superman that's been around for like 75 years. In the movie, he never fought anybody.
Superman, exactly.
He never fought a villain before, so he doesn't know how to keep all this bad shit from happening because he's used his powers, but it's never been like that ever in his life.
Yeah, he's never had to face an opponent who had training and skill.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's a new Superman. He's a little grittier. I didn't think like everyone was that movie was just so bleak.
I saw people that were like,
bleak.
there were people that like, I could never take my kids to that. Well, you're probably also going to give your kid a trophy for finishing in last, and when he goes to college and gets a D, he's going to be real depressed because, it's like, everything's not supposed to be a Disney movie. Like, that's even fucking go back and watch the Superman everybody loves. Go back and watch the original Superman movie. It was awesome. It was a little bit lighter, but it wasn't that much lighter. Go back and watch it. You know the way you remember it because you remember watching it as a kid.
No,
go back and watch it.
I mean, Lex Luthor was very, like, slapstick.
Yes.
And, like, there were some comedic elements.
And they made that movie a couple years ago, Superman Returned, and everyone hated it.
Oh, and now they have embraced it, by the way.
Yes.
They have embraced it, and I've seen so much online support for Superman Returns over Man of Steel. They're like, well, we just thought we'd see the worst fucking Superman movie of all time, but no, it was Man of Steel. But now Superman Returns I can kind of appreciate. It's like,
one thing everybody bitched about in Superman Returns was like, Superman didn't even do anything with his powers. Like, he didn't even punch anybody. Well, he punched people too much in Man of Steel. Yeah,
What do you want? I mean,
people can just go fuck themselves. But I feel like that's a movie. Feel like that movie. That's fine. Everybody can like movies and don't like them, but I just feel that a lot of the gripes are disingenuous, and a lot of it. And there's way too much of this now, and especially with anything that's remade. Like, I just don't respect the opinion of it wasn't made the way I wanted it to be made, so it's not good, as opposed to like looking at it without expectations and without, how you envision it yourself and just trying to watch it with a clean slate. And that's the problem with too many people that go, too many movie reviewers. You have this expectation of like, this is what we've all decided has to happen in this movie, and if it doesn't happen the way that you would write it, by the way, if 90% of people want it written a certain way, then nice creativity. We all agree that this should happen. When somebody does something that's a little bit different, you don't embrace it. Like, that's really the comic book culture, the wrestling culture, certain things, creativity is not liked when it comes to, like, known entities.
Yeah.
Undertaker's got to win every year at WrestleMania because we know he's going to win, and that's exactly how it has to go. Everybody knows that. We all agree John Cena can never be a bad guy. I mean, everybody thinks it's a bad idea. Why? That's just, you can't do it. It's like, oh, well, so we're gonna do something you don't expect. You're gonna get mad about it and bitch about it. You're gonna be like, oh shit, this is interesting. I should see where this is going.
And what's so funny about that, Man of Steel, humongous international success.
Oh yeah,
made billions of dollars, billions upon billions. Like, I mean, critics were lukewarm on it, but like
some
fan
loved it, some hated it.
Just general, like, man on the street loved that.
Go look on IMDb. It's over an 8, which is a great rating for a thing. So people who didn't go Rotten Tomatoes fans, like, a large percentage of them watched it. That's the thing. Made it plenty of money. Also,
hey, I got to talk to people like my cousins and my family members that don't like read comics,
or the
like,
kids.
And they love that shit.
Or the kids whose parents aren't so scared of some buildings being destroyed. Like, oh no, they knocked down some fake buildings in the CGI movie. Oh lord. Avengers knocked down just as many. Sorry, but they did. Or Captain America, they destroyed 3 Death Stars in Captain America. A lot of people died, but it was, it was fun, so it's fine. People who actually took their kids, guess what, they loved it. You see all sorts of kids that love Superman, and that was their introduction to it. So I think there's this especially weird thing, and I'm not a parent, but there's a special weird thing with people who don't have kids or people who do have kids, that once they have a child, they all of a sudden go like too far in reverse on, you have a kid, you definitely got to clean up your act, you definitely have to pay attention to what you like give your kids to, but a lot of people go to the point of being like, it's Sesame Street or nothing. Like, you can't get above, like, the darkness of Sesame Street. While when we were kids, we loved all these movies that had stakes in them. All the movies we loved. Star Wars, stakes. Loved it.
Indiana Jones,
Jones,
Are
stakes.
you kidding? Back to the Future
Star
even
Wars.
had stakes.
Star Wars, now known as Episode 4, but the New Hope Star Wars. Burnt bodies. Burnt corpses laying there. Saw the movie when I was like 5. That's like the big thing of like, that's, those movies are for kids. Burnt corpses in that movie. Luke gets his hand cut off in the second one. All sorts of things that now, Episode 7's got some burnt corpses. People are gonna, every fucking like shitty journalist on the internet's gonna write their fucking blog about, I show burnt corpses to a kid. I can't believe it. As a kid, you're just like, oh no, they died. Oh, I feel bad for Luke. Oh no, I have feelings about this character in this movie. How wrong? I'm not just like, oh, it's okay, it's fake, it's gonna be fine. Somebody didn't cut, like, the equivalent of it now, even though I really like Marvel movies, the equivalent of it now is that Luke sees the burnt corpses and C-3PO walks over and goes, no, it's okay, Luke. Oh, your parents, they're okay, they're in the afterlife, they're fine. Nobody at home, please. Nobody feel sad. Don't feel anything, but we only want you to feel laughs in these movies. Please don't feel anything worse than that. That's what you get now. But anyways, that's the weekly bitch about people just being wussies. That's the word you're allowed to say. I don't know. People just...
Wussies.
People being pussholes, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, I saw something where somebody said something the other day, wussy, and they're like, I don't think you're supposed to say wussy anymore. I'm like, wussy was a thing you would make fun of people for saying instead of cussing when we were kids, and now it's a word that you're like, that's too far, like saying wussy is like,
Wussy.
Yeah, so far, they're like, cunt's bad, the N-word's bad. What, do you think wussy's on this list? I think we should put wussy on this list. But anyways, yeah. Make things with stakes, goddammit. Have some balls. Don't try to protect your kids from things that they don't need protected from because they're going to have to live in the world. And you can't be protected from that. Last bit of news, speaking of Star Wars, won't go on this real quick. They announced announced cast for the movie today. A lot of people got mad. They announced like 6 new parts. Only one was female. And then J.J. Abrams came and said, hey, don't worry, we got another female lead. This is just part of the cast, so I know everybody like rushed their computer. Like I see people like when the Star Wars cast was announced, like people are being like, oh shit, go grab me a beer, celebration time, I got something to bitch about.
Yeah, let me get outraged, let me feign outrage on something that doesn't have a goddamn thing to do with me. I mean,
something that's not even complete. They put out a partial cast list of just who they've cast so far for the movie, and people are like, then that's their thing. And they couldn't go with diverse because it's pretty diverse. They announced all the leads, and also you don't even know which of these characters are the lead characters. You just know they're new people casted for the movie.
We don't know anything about it. Just like the Justice League and the Superman Batman movies, we don't know anything about it. There's a movie out there for us to watch, and then if they have women in chains and they're, it's like an all-white cast and there's no representation, then you can bitch.
If the only bad guy in the movie, if there's a black emperor and the rest of the people are white, then you've got a reason to be mad, but it doesn't happen. Also, by the way, real stuff in the world. This is one of the things that shows, like, how people's outrage, it's like crossing this line of, like, where I think a lot of people seriously do, like, treat these things the same, like, the fact that they switched some Game of Thrones scenes up, or that they announced the cast of Star Wars and it wasn't what they wanted, is like the same anger. A real issue to be mad about, a real thing to be mad about this is about basketball, but real quick, just a comparison. The Clippers owner, Donald Sterling, is a huge racist. He's a real asshole and a piece of shit, and you deserve to be mad about him. He got caught on tape saying things where he essentially is like a slave owner. He said he's fine for players playing for him, and he likes employing them and giving them money, and happy he can provide them with his meals, but he doesn't want to be seen out in public with them. And his girlfriend that's half black and half white, he told her to act more white, and that she can't he like forbade her from taking Instagram photos with black people or Mexican people, only white people. And he owns an NBA team. He's a billionaire. And a few years ago, he was successfully sued by the government because he wouldn't rent to minorities. He would only rent to white people. That's a real reason to be mad, and a real villain, and a real guy to be mad about. Yet I saw posts today where people said such things as, if you're not mad about Donald Sterling and the Star Wars casting, then I don't want to be your friend. You put these things on the same level? Like, they're the same? Like, you should be mad about them the same? That a cast of a fucking movie didn't, like, go by some chart that you think it should go by on how it casted, its genders, and a dude who's literally racist, who's telling people not to take pictures of black people, who won't rent things to black people, that's the same amount of mad? Like, fucking live in real life. Like, damn it. Like, fucking think about that for 5 seconds and think about if you're not getting mad about the wrong shit. I mean, come on. I saw that multiple times, and it was by people that I would look at, so it was by comic book people or movie critics and stuff. Saying that, I'm like you're a fucking piece of shit if you're equally as mad about the Star Wars casting as a guy literally holding down people for their color, then you've got like real big problems. Like, you need to fucking live like on this planet. Anyways, one part of the cast up was cool. 2 cool real castings real quick. Andy Serkis is going to be in it. You only imagine he's probably going to be playing some sort of like CGI character in a costume. Not that he couldn't play something else, but that's just what he's the most famous for. He's awesome in Planet of the Apes, and he's awesome as Gollum, so it seems to be his deal. So I'm guessing whatever new character that they put in, in that role, that's going to be him.
That's what we'll call the apology for Jar Jar Binks character.
Maybe they're going to make a badass version of Jar Jar. Or maybe he's gonna play Jar Jar's fucking grandson. And Lucas's his one caveat of selling was like, "We're gonna get that character over."
I just had to have Jar Jar.
Yeah, this is
episode 7 of it.
It's Jar Jar Jr. It's J.J. Binks is in this movie, and I'll fucking take your $3 billion, but you gotta promise me J.J. Binks. And then they're like, well, if we're gonna do it, we gotta get the one guy that might be able to pull it off, Andy Serkis. But anyways, that was in there. Awesome casting, Max von Sydow. Hope I pronounced that right. But been in a billion things, but still probably most famous for being in The Exorcist. Yeah. By the way, he's still alive. The old priest in The Exorcist. That movie was from the 70s. He was born in like 1928. But he's awesome, and he's awesome in pretty much everything. So, he's in there, which you can only imagine he seems like a role for a bad guy, or maybe he's some sort of ancient fucking Jedi. And then also Adam Driver, who, if you watch the show Girls, he's on there. He's a star of that show. It's pretty good. He seems pretty good. He's like a classically trained actor and stuff like that. And I think he's gonna be playing a bad guy. So I've never really seen him in anything else, but it's an interesting casting, but talented. They also cast a couple other people. The main girl, the one female one they announced today on the first day that they've announced any cast, damn them, hasn't been in shit. She's been in she's been in a couple of like episodes of shows, so she's the perennial complete unknown. And then they also announced a dude that was in that movie Inside Llewyn Davis, which I haven't seen, but a lot of people like. So the big overall thing for the cast was it's a bunch of really talented young actors, and like most of them are people that you've seen in things before that you like. So that rules. And then they confirmed the suspicions of everybody's coming back that's still alive from the old movies. So that's awesome. And they said it is going to be like Han Solo and Leia and Luke are going to be kind of the stars of this movie, with the passing of the torch movie, to where by episode 8 they'll be kind of the background thing. So I like the plans to see. I like J.J. Abrams. I've loved both the Star Trek movies, so
yeah, that's exciting. I think it's in good hands, and I'm really stoked.
And anybody on J.J. Abrams asked for, because I know in Star Trek in the second one, they showed a girl in her underwear. God forbid, even though they showed Kirk has definitely been shirtless in those movies. So whatever you want to say, people have like had this thing of after this cast, be like, well, J.J. Abrams just doesn't know how to write roles for girls because blah blah. Well, Horror is pretty much the boss in Star Wars, and he also created Felicity and Alias, so he can write the chick characters. Everybody calm down. He knows what he's doing. That's it for news. And we would go back to Long Box, but why? Why would we do that?
Well, did you you did Batwoman last week? Or did you do...
I don't think we ever talked about Batwoman.
I think you did the Wonder Woman last week.
Yeah, I think so. We can talk about Batwoman.
Talk about Batwoman for a moment before we get into the polls.
Yeah, recently read. We can go back to the old bookshelf. Pretty recent, but the way DC releases their collected editions, this is actually from about 6 or 7 months ago. So, go Batwoman Volume 4, sadly the last of the J.H. Williams, Hayden Blackman, Trevor McCarthy Batwoman. It was awesome. It's like all the other volumes.
Talk about blue balls, though.
Yeah, it sucks they didn't get to end that. I remember at the time, like, being like, whatever. But now after reading this, I really wish they had 2 more issues to end their story that it seemed like kind of out of spite, DC didn't let them put out. And wish they would have, because it'd have been nice for this story to end, because it ended on a real cliffhanger. It ends... if you haven't read the story, basically what happens, to catch you up on Batwoman, spoilers, is that we find out that her sister might be alive. That Kate Kane's sister, who she believed to have died in the last volume, a sister she believed to be dead for a really long time, and showed back up as a heel.
Beth.
Beth. And then she believed to have died at the end of the last volume. A government agency comes to her and tells her, hey, she's alive, we've got her, we'll give her to you and let you take her home, but, you have to go out and get take down a target for us. And she's like, fine. Like, it's Batman. So basically they tell her, you have to, like, figure out Batman's identity, or we're not going to give your sister back. And so that's kind of what's about. And of course, she has some hurdles, has to fight some other motherfuckers, has to get to the bottom of some shit before it happens. and it's really good. It's a really great issue. One of the great things about this is they really build all the other characters. Like Maggie Sawyer is really awesome throughout this whole Batwoman run. They just do a great job. Had started building up her cousin, what's the character she plays? The
Fuck, I can't remember, but it's cool.
something, is it Blackbird? Something Bird?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah. Well, they do a great job of that as well, like building up like just the supporting cast, and it's really great. It starts out with an awesome story of her having to take down Mr. Freeze. That's kind of what she's doing. She's kind of having to do these jobs for this company.
A lot of great Batman villains in that book.
Yeah, they do a great job of using that universe for sure. And then, unfortunately, it ends when she's finally found Batwoman. They've had a little fight. It ends, or found Batman, and it ends with Bruce and Kate with their hands around each other's necks and double choke slam form. And then the story's just over, and it hasn't finished in real life. So it got to this great point of like, what's gonna happen?
Man,
and then we get no end.
Shit.
So it's Flamebird. That's her name, right?
Yeah.
Flamebird. It's Betty is right. Bet, is that her name? That's the cousin.
Bet,
yeah. They all fucking DC their names. I can't remember sometimes, but yeah, Bet. I think that's her cousin, the Flamebird. But yeah, it was great. It would just been nice to have that issue to see what the fuck happened when Batman and Batwoman threw down, and it sucks that if they were going to bring the new team in, they weren't just like, hey, write an issue to finish this. Now, luckily, if you are getting this on the weekly, I believe they are finishing the story in the annual. It won't be written by J.H. Williams. It'll be written by the new martyr, Mark Andreyko, which could be writing a good Batwoman. Who knows? But it just sucks because this book was just so different, so good, had such a look to it that was different than like every other book on the shelves. A lot of the great storytelling in this is through the art, and it's just a bummer that they didn't at least get to finish their story. And looking back on it now too, like I understand like editorial, and at the time I remember when they announced, they were quitting, and we took this, kind of took the stance of, DC, like they get to make the big decisions, and the reason they quit is because they wanted to marry the characters off, and some people of course tried to turn that into a fake outrage about DC being against gay marriage, and they were like, no, none of the characters are allowed to get married, like hold your horses, and I was kind of like whatever. But then like now, like reading through this and like reading a few more months of comics, like I just wish they just should have let them get married and just let those people get on the book, because how would that really affect like any of the rest of the DC universe? Like it really wouldn't.
No.
Like it seems like a silly thing to like lose like such talented like writers and artists over, like not to mention it would have brought them some good needed press. I mean, even looking at it from that point, even though
you gotta wonder who's making those calls internally, because that's not really a smart move.
It seems like DC, and it could be totally wrong, because me and you've never been in the room on one of these meetings
or
talk to these people, but it does seem like DC has a little bit of a problem of like coming up with a game plan and then sticking to it by all means necessary, like deciding this is exactly what we're going to do, and it doesn't matter like how things evolve and change, like this is where the characters have to be, this is what we're going to do at this point. Because, I mean, you see that sometimes too through the Bat books, where there's going to be like an event, and some of the books seem like they just have to kind of hold, and through Green Lantern, one of the reasons you drop Green Lantern, and even through some of the other books, like when they have events, it seems like when it's almost event time, not all the books, because some of their tie-ins have been really good, but some of them are just like, okay, we got to hold course for the next 4 issues. We'll get back to the story we want to tell in 5 months, but we just gotta like kind of like be in a limbo with the next couple issues because we're gonna get cut off, so we can't do like what we want. And I think that is like an editorial like kind of like issue where, it's like what, like Batwoman, everybody loved it. I mean, I know it wasn't selling great, it had fallen some in sales, and that was part of their thing, is they wanted to be more involved in the rest of the Bat universe a little bit, because that does, by having fucking 0 year on the cover, like this is a 0 year tie-in, it is going to sell more copies of that book for the month, so I understand that. But the idea that like Batwoman is a character that like you're not expecting to sell crazy good anyways, like, isn't there like some value to like them getting nominated for Eisner Awards, and value to the fact that, like the LGBT community can look at that book and be like, hey, there's a book that is representative, we love in DC, and I seem like sometimes like the value of the book is more than just money, and I think that, they kind of threw it away. I mean, who knows? Like I said, the new book could be good. It could be giving you all the like same stuff that the old book did, but now like after it's over, it is like looking back, like what seemed to be a really big deal, like for that couple weeks at the time, is like probably wasn't. They should have just let them do what they wanted to do, and people would still be loving this book,
Interesting. Well, do you want to start with DC since that's where we already are in the box?
Yeah, what books do I have this week? Yeah, you can. Yeah, I've only got 3 books to talk about. So
Holy shit!
well, I guess 4. We got a Walking Dead, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah, so I've only got the 4. Remember, I had the 3 and you had like the 10. So
Okay, well, I guess we can. But I'll let you borrow a couple of these DC so you can chime in on like at least 3 of them.
oh yeah, but yeah, we can start with the DC. That's fine.
Okay, cool. Well, then we got a fucking boatload. We'll start with some of the new tastes that we've gotten. Muji got to check these out as well. The first one I'll talk about is Secret Origins #1. Collection of origin stories for the New 52, some of which you're familiar with, some of which you're not. New spins, new takes. Just basically, principles being formed in these characters' lives and important moments, written by the regular writers of the books.
Yeah, big benefit of that, having the actual writers who've been writing the books. I thought it was cool. One of the things, though, you jumped right on that book. One of the things I was a little hesitant about was just like, through Zero Year and stuff, I feel like, and even on some of the books when they started, I feel like we've seen the origin of most of the characters. So I was interested in, like what this was going to add to it. But, I thought they did a good job. Like, it's not just a straight, like, re-edit of the 0 Year books. Of, like,
no.
we've already seen. It adds a whole bunch of extra stuff, and the stories aren't even necessarily like, hey, this is Bruce Wayne seeing his parents get shot, because why would they write a story like that, even though this isn't about Batman? It's just really some early year stuff, and some stuff that happened that kind of calls them to, like, be the characters that they are. Like, it's not just a straight up, like, this is exactly like the origin that you've heard 1,000 times, just with a little bit of a twist. So
Yeah, you got to learn a little more about the dynamic of men and women on Krypton in the New 52, and that the women were the warrior species more, and the men were the brains.
Yeah, I've seen the New 52 has done a great job of making Krypton. And by the way, some of the people completely forget about Man of Steel. The first 20 minutes in Krypton was spectacular. They've done a really great job of making Krypton into, like, fleshing it out and making it this badass, like, modern take on sci-fi, not just this big green icy planet that, looked like it was from a set of Star Trek, from 1965. Like, they've brought it into, like, this great, looking and great fleshed out planet. So yeah, I like the book. I know some people, you think it's a $5 book, which, there's not really any of those. I did see that they are $4.99. But they are all 48 pages.
Yeah, they're big.
They're more than double. Your normal DC book is 22. I believe 22 for the $3 books, and like 24, 26 for the $4 books. And we're looking at 48, so you're getting a double-sized comic for $5. So for per page, it's a bit of a discounted rate.
The Superman story was very much about like how his mother's influenced his life, both Martha Kent and his mother in Krypton, Laura.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then there was an early Nightwing story by Kyle Higgins in there that was very
awesome.
cool. Dealing with the night his parents died, but also the first time he met Batman.
Yeah.
This is very cool. And
things that hadn't been covered, like most of the stuff are things that hadn't been covered. Little glimpse of him as a Robin there, which is nice to see.
And I'm not at all familiar with Supergirl or her book, but I did enjoy the story that was in here. So
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard Supergirl's pretty cool. I saw a bunch of people have really loved her in Red Lanterns, and that the book has been good lately with Charles Soule writing it, and that it had really reinvigorated her character by being a Lantern and being in that book. And she's also an underutilized a bit of character.
She hasn't really done much of note in the.
See, I'm surprised. I'm still surprised they haven't announced, because I was almost sure that she was. I guess maybe plans changed to go on Batman, because I was almost sure she was going to end up in the second Man of Steel movie because of that pod and that one when Superman went, and we're looking through the bases. There was one base that had, all the dead people on it, but there was one seatbelt ripped off, and it never got explained, who got out of that. I'm almost positive that's got to be her. I know that we're going into Superman the Justice League, but I'm sure there'll be an actual Man of Steel sequel that'll come out probably after Justice League sometime in there, and I'm willing to bet we're gonna get a Supergirl probably in that movie. So, um, but yeah, I like that book. Like I said, the only thing is, I feel a bit of a slippery slope. I hope that, you know, the book doing well. I hope it does well, but I hope it doesn't like entice DC or Marvel to be like, oh, we can get away with a $5 book if we just put a few extra pages in it, because you don't want to see those price points changing. But I still liked it.
Yeah, I did. As well. And then Justice League United #0, Jeff Lemire's take on the former JLA team. And since I was getting JLA and it's ended, I thought I'd check this book out. It's on a short list. Like, it may not last the duration, but I enjoyed the first issue well enough. It was a #0. Interestingly enough, I thought in a #0 they probably kind of like tell how the team got together or some
Not
such.
really.
No, they just throw you right in the middle
I don't
of
know
an
why
adventure.
it wasn't #1. Yeah, it feels like weird that they would just call it 0. But who knows? Maybe that, with it being a 0, maybe that means #1 might go. They might just do it differently and kind of show you where they came together in that book.
Yeah, I mean, I've got patience. It's got the first arc to wow me, and if it does, then it'll stay on, and if it doesn't, then I'll say goodbye. Because team books I've kind of been burnt by a lot lately, and
you've had the bad luck with them, man. Like when we picked like what books are gonna get. Like I went with Justice League and have been satisfied the whole time with it. I went with Wolverine and the X-Men and was satisfied the whole Jason Aaron run. And you've had a few that actually the other Justice Leagues. That's really where you've been burned, is like the sub Justice League
Dark, Justice League of America, which had a really strong start and then was just a giant, almost incomprehensible forever.
Well, maybe this will stay good because of Lemire. Because think about it, Justice League of America started off good when Johns was writing it, and then handed off. Lemire wasn't on that. When Johns was writing it, Justice League of America was good, and when he handed it off, kind of fell down. You like Justice League Dark when Lemire was writing Justice League Dark, it was good, and then when he started co-writing and handed it off, it kind of fell off. Maybe as long as he stays the main writer in this book, it'll be good.
Well, it certainly got a chance. So
yeah.
That was cool as far as
Flash, new creative
#1s. But yes, we do have the Flash. New creative team on the Flash has just been on here for a couple issues here, and actually, this might have been the first one with Venditti.
This is Venditti, right?
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
this is
it
the
is.
first
I'm
Venditti.
sorry, this is the first Venditti. My bad. This issue was badass. This deals with the fallout of Forever Evil. Post Forever Evil, like Central City got really fucked up.
It'd be nice to know how Forever Evil ends, but it's cool to go ahead and see the post.
Yeah, well, we know the Flash survived, so spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler. So this Wednesday, if you want to read Forever Evil Aftermath, Batman vs. Bane, that's there. Forever Evil #7 to be announced.
That's a really funny story because we were like looking at the new release poster in the comic shop last week, and we were just cackling over Batman vs. Bane Forever Evil Aftermath, and the comic store is like, hey man, or the owner's like, hey man, you guys laughing at my list? It's like, no, we're laughing at DC and their fucking inability to put shit out on time.
Yeah, and their fucking 1995 image schedule on books that involve Jeff Johns and Jim Lee.
But anyway, this Flash, the first issue by Venditti, super strong issue. Like, the Flash finds out he's got some new powers, little time travel stuff going on, and the debut of Wally West, who's a corpse, and the Flash has to prevent him from getting killed somehow. So that's kind of how this is gonna bring him into the universe.
Nice.
Because in the New 52, Wally West died. He never existed. He got killed. He got ran over by a car and some shit that was like sideways related to the Flash.
Yeah.
So now he's gonna try to fucking go back and fix that and bring Wally West back to life.
Yeah, I read Wally West. Yeah, that he's gonna be a normal part of the book. It's gonna deal with both. We'll have 2 Flashes in a lot of the books, so it'll be cool.
That'll be fucking sweet. Aquaman's really starting to hit its stride with Jeff Parker, man. Here,
He's good.
Issue #30, we're continuing the story where, of course, the archaeologist stole the trident and put it into the fucking, like, Egyptian artifact, and of course, like, it was the key to Atlantean hell, and all the demons escaped.
Nice.
And Hercules was locked in there for years. He was the guy that drove all the demons into hell the first time, and he got locked in there and went fucking totally mad. So issue is just him beating the dog shit out of Aquaman. Excuse me. And you see Mira handling some Atlantean politics and the little side plot. And basically the issue is Aquaman trying to convince Hercules of who he is. And a little surprise appearance by one of his family members at the end to try and help jog his memory. Bet
Nice.
you can guess who that is. One of Hercules' family members, that is. Hint,
Shit.
she's in the Justice League.
Yes, nice.
And then Batman Eternal #3. DC on the weekly.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
knocking it out of the park. And like
Totally
the first
worth
two
it.
were great. And this one was even greater.
Yeah, you really get to. With it being weekly, there is, they really came out and hit you in the face in the first one, and it really hasn't stopped. There's really no slow burn to this book so far. Like, that's what I figured it would be. It'd be like, oh, they're going to kind of, like, give you a little bit at a time, and there'll be a lot of, like, art. There'll be a lot of pages with art, no dialogue, like, because how can you write a book every week? But not so far. So far, it's been 3 issues jam-packed full of shit.
No, what do you get this week? Spoiler alert, you get Stephanie Brown back in the new 52.
Yeah, she's back. I mean, they told you that a year ago because they didn't want you to read this book and be like, finally, my prayers are answered. But you didn't know when she was coming back. You just knew she was showing back up.
We get to really see the Penguin at work in this book. We get to see a very Gotham Central vibe with the Gotham Police and all those great cast of characters from the GCPD. And you see the corruption infiltrating, very similar to Year 1. Old Falcone's back. The fucking war on Gotham has begun, and every fucking person except for, your true blue GCPD folk are on the take. And,
Of course.
man, fucking shit is hot in Gotham. Gordon's in jail. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's really great. And one of the big things that I've liked so far about this book is it really reminds you just how much is going on in Gotham. Like, even reading Batman books, like even reading Batman proper that's had like these big stories, even though they have a bunch of different books out there, when you're just reading Batman, like it's easy to kind of like just completely hone in on what he's doing, and in the back of your mind you almost go into default, like, oh, well, he's fighting the Riddler, that means all the rest of the criminals are probably just locked up in Arkham, and once he gets someone the Riddler, like he'll, things will be good and then whatever. But in here, you really get the grand scope of like, how giant of a city it is and how all these different things are happening. All these different like villains are all working at one time, and they've all got things going on. And so, Batman's constantly got 20 threats out there that he's got to deal with whenever they poke their heads up. So it really gives like a big, huge scope to Gotham, while at the same time, showing you like the cool street level stuff. I mean, it reminds you just how like giant of a place and how many different things can happen. So yeah, nothing but super pumped for where that story's going.
Like, I mean, if I could give a 5-star rating, I think I would give that issue 5 stars. Like, I think.
Yeah, man, it is really.
It was that good.
It is really like if you went down to a budget to where you're like, I've only got $20 a month to spend on comics. Like, I wouldn't laugh at you if you're like, I'm putting 12 for Batman Eternal, and then I'm gonna find where my other 8's gonna go.
Right.
Because seems like you do get, and even though it's coming out every week, I mean, it's a $3 book. You're getting your fucking money's worth for fucking $3. You're getting this great story, so.
Yeah, so cool. Fucking good. So good. On to Marvel.
Yeah, that's sweet. Talk about a couple of my books. Moon Knight Deuce. Got this, I got short at the comic store. They did not send them any of it, so I finally got it offline. And it was cool. It was the second issue of it. They went with the art in this one. Same artist, Eccles Chevy, but he went took a little bit of a chance with the art. It's kind of cool. Like, basically what they've done in here is they're showing things from the perspective of Moon Knight is, I think, what they're going for. And you've got like a lot of panels that are just completely whited out with like thoughts. So you've got like things going on, and then that's going on when you're thinking about him. So you got to kind of get a little bit of a glimpse of like how he's seeing things. So it's pretty cool. So I thought it was a really good issue. Again, like, at least from like my perspective of reading this, like, it's fucking been so long since I read the first issue already. I don't know how much this like ties into what was already going on, but it's a really cool issue, and the art style in it, like, for me, I mean, it's written great, but really makes it like it's really unique and doesn't look like anything else. So Really good. The Marvel single character books, they've really done a great job. Anytime they relaunch all of these books, they've relaunched that are just concentrated on one person.
Pretty much everything is strong right now. Like, I mean, of course, we just bitched about the Wolverine stuff, but that's not Paul Cornell's fault. But like, I mean,
These
Captain
books-
America is excellent.
Yeah, which Captain America does tie in, but it's really like Remender because he's got Uncanny Avengers. It really ties in like to what he's doing. So it seems like the left alone things are what do the best. Like She-Hulk, really not bothered by any other book. Thor, not bothered by anything else because once again, I mean, you know, even though it has nothing to do that book with what he's doing in Avengers, so it's just his own thing. Hawkeye, obviously, not bothered by anything else. Like the books that don't have to answer to like the bigger universe, you know, all seem to be really good.
Even so, like, I mean, there's a little bit of cross branding. Uncanny Avengers and Thor had a big crossover with Thor with the Yarnborn axe and the fucking,
Right.
you know, that came from Thor, and of course was later what killed the Celestial in Uncanny Avengers. So,
Yeah.
you
But
know,
I mean,
there was,
that's
but it
like
was
a cool like nugget.
Remender and Aaron working together.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a big Marvel, you got to do this thing.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a part 1, part 2 story. It was just a cool thing that they used.
Right,
like,
and they're
from-
buddies, so they could be
Yeah.
like, hey, do this,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
Yeah, but that's I mean that's really seems like a lot of the books I like, and also too, like I said, a lot of these books, like I think it is an advantage. I think one of the hardest things, well, there's Snyder so awesome. One of the hardest things in the world is to write like a new Batman or Superman story or a new X-Men story that you've never seen because there's been so many of them and so many good ones. I'm really with these characters like Moon Knight and She-Hulk and Hawkeye. These are characters that, you know, they don't have 1,000 issues of each one of these in it, so you know there's a real freedom. And even so, like the She-Hulk, if we read this, like yeah, she's a lawyer, like she's cool. There's not like a lot of defined things you have to stick by for like a character like that, or like Hawkeye when he's out on his own. So I think there is like a lot more freedom in these like what would be considered secondary characters, which helps the books, you know, be even better. But
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, when we moved to Uncanny Avengers, we bitched about a team book and said, you know, that the team books fucking had fucked me. And
this is
I
one
felt
that
remiss. This is one that always delivers the goods. And this is, you know, one of Remender's things of these crazy alternate futures. And we're back here again. This time dealing with the issues. You have a contingent of the people there. Havoc, who was the guy who caused the fucking apocalypse in the first place on accident. He wants to go back and fix things and change time and, you know, bring Wanda back and just set everything right.
that always works so well.
And there's, of course, a contingent, Magneto and others, who are like, if you do that, you're going to fucking kill all of our lives now. You're going to destroy our reality. Fuck you. And so you deal with the fallout, basically, to restore the Earth, because that's what happened. The Earth blew up, everyone died, and the mutants got raptured to Planet X.
Right.
So, like, you know, what's going to happen? The Wasp and Havoc trying to break the Tachyon Dam so they can cross the time stream. Lots of crazy shit in this book, and, like, I can only wait to see how it's going to tie back into the regular timeline once everything shakes itself out. So,
Nice.
fantastic.
And I got Daredevil #2. It was good. Continuing on, once again, nice job on the renumbers. So Daredevil 2 selling lower than it was before they relaunched the book. So way to go, giving people a chance to drop the book. But quality of the book stays the same, stays magnificent. We got to Wade and Samney and Rodriguez, same team that's done the majority of the run. And it was an awesome issue. I really have liked so far like the new stories that they have been able to tell with Matt Murdock living in San Francisco now. We get introduced to a new cool villain in the book.
Oh, yeah, Shroud.
Yeah, Shroud, who looks cool and has a cool name.
That was fucking cool as shit. I really, really liked that.
Yeah, this could be somebody who actually sticks a little bit of a new villain that actually gets some comeback.
I could see that happening.
Yeah, which doesn't happen all that often. And then once again, I'm just kind of fleshing out the new cast of characters, you know. Murdoch's new friends now that he's in San Francisco. You get a cool scene where he's eating dinner, and his new like partner in his law firm, she switches out the salt and the pepper on him just to fuck with him, even though he probably knows what happened. But so there's some cool, fun things you get to see. Just the new dynamic of him meeting and developing relationships with new people. So fun book.
Yeah, I
Staying
really
good.
did, yeah. As always, Mark Waid knows what he's doing with that character.
It's more fun for $3, but still fun for $4.
Still fun enough.
Yes, exactly.
My last Marvel book was Guardians of the Galaxy number 14, the double-sized anniversary issue.
Anniversary of what? We don't know, but it was a supposedly anniversary.
So,
Another $5 book. Once again, 4th week in a row that we've had. You had 2 $5 books this week. We had a couple. This is within the last 3 weeks. His account is now at 6 $5 books that we've had, at least, that we've had to buy.
this is another one that, like, the main story was really good. Like, it was, like, introduced Venom as part of the team. Like, the Avengers sent Flash Thompson up there to help the Guardians, so he's going to be running with them for a while. And that was pretty cool to see him, like, interacting on all these alien worlds and shit. And they're clearly taking a cue from the movie and making Peter Quill more of a smart ass.
Nice.
And that story was big, but there were 2 other stories in the back. One was about, like, Groot and his family back on their home planet. And it was whatever. It was about the equivalent of fucking Chewbacca and his family at Christmas on the fucking Star Wars Holiday Special.
Nice.
And then there was a future story about, like, the children of the Guardians and them continuing to fight the fight, and one of them having Captain America's shield and shit. And it was cool, but I would have just rather had the main story and paid $3.99.
Yeah, like I said, that is unfortunately like how it goes lots of times.
That's how they get you with it, because it's not like, oh, it's a double-sized anniversary issue. If all of that content was the one issue,
if it was like how
Be worth $5.
if it was like how Batman has been when I've gotten $5 Batmans, where it's like, oh, Steiner and Capullo just did 40 pages in this issue, so they charged an extra buck. That's okay. Like if you need the room to tell the story, but if you're just like, well, we have these fucking like 10-page unused stories in the drawer, and we gotta sell them one day. I throw them in here and add a buck to it. Let's do it. That is a bummer. But we want something not a bummer. Over to Image. Lazarus.
Yes. That would actually be Lazarus, by the way, for
Yes.
those who aren't in on the joke.
For the 4 people, not the yes. If you're not one of the 4 that are in on that inside joke. Lazarus. We got old Rucka. And Lark. And Arcus. Apparently now you're just a real fucking dickwick if you don't name off the colorist when you're telling people's books, too. That's a new thing. Gotta remember.
Oh.
I'm not even going to name the artist anymore. I'm just going to do whoever's name's first, Rucka and Company. I'm going to do the opposite. I can't fucking remember the letter and everybody. I can't, when I'm like Lazarus, I can't name off 5 people. I can't remember that many people's names. So from now on, I'm going to go Snyder and Co., Rucka and Co.
Buy the book, and you'll see all those other nice.
You'll see all these other names, damn it. Hope they get all their money and everything, but damn it, I'm not going to remember them all. But another great issue. Another great thing I really like in this book where they show Forever as a kid and her training, to be adult Lazarus and all these things that she goes on. Also really interested, if you haven't been to read the book, many spoilers, but it's also building where she's kind of got a trainer, and it seems pretty obvious they're building to a point to where she's going to have to like kill that lady, and everybody's cool with it, including the lady. Like, yeah, once she gets trained, like, and once she beats me,
She can have my powers.
She's ready, and by beating her, it seems like that means she's gonna have to murder her, and that's her plan. If that's where it goes, then that's pretty psychologically messed up. That'll really get you, but it's cool. But I like it. You got that. You also get to see the character. She's getting more independent as the book goes on, kind of making her own decisions, doing things she wants to, and you also get to see in this book a lot more of what's going on with like all these other all the poor people who are all going, they're trying to make it in time to a city for what they call the selection, where I guess some of them get to come live like in the towns and stuff like that. So you got the whole crew of just the normal people, which you can only imagine at some point, my prediction is she's going to cross up with them and maybe possibly go with them instead of her family and help them out is what I'm guessing the book direction's going. But got some couple new characters introduced in this one. It was really awesome. Another great ish.
Yeah, that's one of the most fantastic creator-owned books out there. Really want to check that out.
They do what's right about a dystopian future, where it is, but it feels enough like where we're at right now that you can see like how it could get to this point.
Oh yeah, it's not like a not too distant dystopian future.
It's like things fell apart, and now only the mega rich people really have things, and you basically feel lucky if like they'll let you come like work for them. Like that's the type of future. When you think about if the fucking structure of the U.S., if the government was no more, then all of a sudden you couldn't go to banks and get your checks and stuff. How long would it be until the ultra connected were the only ones you could really go after? That would be a possibility. But yeah, read Lazarus.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those comics like making a bit of a social statement in a good way.
Yeah, and Michael Lark draws it. One of the best. So.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I don't know if it's pick of the week, but I mean, we'll give it its props. It was the end to a great story.
Pick of the week, and yeah, it was the biggest book of the week.
And it was the end to a fantastic story, talking about Walking Dead, number 126, All Out War, 12 of 12, the big finale.
The kind of big finale.
And it was a little disappointing.
Yeah, it really was. If you haven't been reading it, huge spoilers. Fast forward probably to the end of the pod, because that's all we have left to talk about. But, the whole book has been about Rick and Negan going at it, having their little war. End of the last issue, Negan gets shot or gets stabbed. So you think, like this, is he dead? Is he going to live? Like, what's going to happen?
Who's he taking out on the way?
Yeah, well, the answer to that all is no one and nothing, because they get Negan. The book starts with Rick being like, hey, we've got Negan, so everybody can stop fighting. Everybody stops fighting, and he decides not to kill Negan. He's going to keep him in jail, which, of course...
That's going to work out fucking great.
A great mistake. So, yeah, he doesn't kill the bad guy. The guy who... More spoilers. I mean, if you're reading it and caught up at all, you know this, but more big spoilers. The guy who beat Glenn to death with a baseball bat in front of Rick, Maggie, and everyone, and has just been murdering people like crazy. Rick decided, no, that's not how we do things. I'm sentencing him to jail instead. Like, he can just hang out, and we'll take our resources, our few like, resources that we desperately need, and we'll feed him and keep him alive and have somebody guard him in a fucking prison.
Yeah, I really didn't understand that. Like, and I mean, I'm not, like, we're kind of being hypocritical because we were just bitching about people that do this, but it's like,
it was different. It was not what you expected, but at the same time, it seemed like...
I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it.
I
didn't even close to love it.
I'm interested to see where they go with it, but it certainly went out with like a whimper. Like it's...
Yeah, like clearly that's going to be a fatal fucking mistake on Rick's behalf. And like,
Rick's the worst leader ever. Of course it will be. One of the things you should learn from Walking Dead, we're fucking 120 issues in. He hasn't learned how to make good decisions yet. And you don't get that many. Like, if he ends up being the greatest leader ever, great for him. But, man, he got like fucking 5 terms as president where all he did was fuck up first.
the only thing that really took me out of the whole element was how easily everybody agreed to go along with his stupid fucking plan. It's like, okay, guys, well, we got Negan, but now we're going to do something different. We're going to do what they really wouldn't expect. We're going to keep him alive. It's like, I would not expect Carl to fucking grow a penis out of his fucking empty eye hole. I would not expect that.
Yes.
But does that mean that would be the right thing for the story? I don't know.
Yeah, and you're also wondering why nobody like killed him like immediately. Like, Maggie is like, you're keeping alive the person that killed Glenn, but it's your decision, so I respect it. I'm fine with it. Like, wait, what? Your idea is like, and then Rick basically has to be like, hey Carl, don't go shoot him behind my back.
He's like,
okay, I won't this time. So yeah, I don't know about that, and more so.
I mean, you never know where they're going. This has been some of the best Walking Dead in years. So we're not trying to shit on it.
It's interesting, and it could end up being great, but for being the 12th part of this 12-part event that was like really stimulating and was really a page turner that you're waiting for every week, it did just go out with a whimper. Like, it just
Yeah, I
kind
mean,
of
you
like...
definitely expected Negan to get slaughtered, and it didn't happen, which means he lives to be an asshole another day, which could be good for the book in the long run, but like you say, for this event to, like, end just like that was a little disappointing, but...
They were not the fireworks that you thought were going to happen.
Certainly doesn't sour me on the book. No. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Not to mention everybody on his team, another thing, just like, we're like, okay, like, if you really hated him and didn't want to fight for him that bad... then I feel like they just would have killed him or stopped fighting. Like, they just all of a sudden, like, they're completely 100% like, you know, you caught Negan? Okay, cool. We'll stop shooting at you. Like, it's just completely over. Like, it seems like it was just, things worked out like a little too tidy, I feel like, in the end. But,
yeah,
we'll
see what happens.
Goes, yeah.
We'll see what happens. It is an ongoing, so, I mean...
Yeah, that's it. Next week, another...
Big week next week. Fuck.
I know, you got another one. I got another not giant week next week. I got a few.
I don't have a huge week next week, but it's a big week for the comics industry.
Yeah,
Amazing Spider-Man #1.
Yeah, I got that. I got Amazing #1 and all new X-Men. Got Southern Bastards #1.
That's a big one. Got then, Batman Eternal, of course. We've got...
I think I have Fatale.
Uncanny Avengers Annual.
Yeah, and I have Fatale. I want to say, like, it's number 21 or 22. It's one of the last couple of Fatale, so there's only a couple issues left. So, got some good pulls coming next week.
Yes, big episode coming up.
And, of course, Saturday is Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Falling on your birthday this year.
It is. I know. Everybody gets free shit on my birthday. That's not that cool, but...
He's like, I don't know how I fucking feel about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Some people are probably going to get more stuff than me.
Interesting. A little commentary on Free Comic Book Day as we close out this episode. Their offerings certainly are dwindling over the years. It used to be that they would... it used to be that they would take on Free Comic Book Day and issue like some sort of collectible book that was like some sort of book that would be unique. And like Walking Dead did that, you know, it's like a short story that hadn't been printed, and that's something that only been printed, like Playboy. You know,
like even last year that Michonne was cool.
Been printed into comics, but now it's becoming just more and more just a whoring for previewing upcoming shit. Like
for events. Yeah, that's what it's become, is preview for the events that are coming. For the main companies basically give you nothing to like be excited about.
No, Marvel did an exclusive every year on Free Comic Book Day, except for last year, and they did what they advertised was a fucking exclusive, and it was really just like the first fucking 20 pages of Infinity #1.
And even like, think about, like, I mean, this is my third Free Comic Book Day, just still started getting the weeklies a couple of years ago. And remember the first Free Comic Book Day, like, you know, basically the place we go, you can get 5 comics, and I had to choose. I was like, okay, I can only get 5 of these. Then I remember last year I didn't even take the 4 or 5, but the 4 that I got I was excited about. Yeah, that Walking Dead. I remember there was a Judge Dredd book that I was like, okay, cool, this is the story of this, maybe this will get me into that. You know, and then there was a cool preview book from Image that gave you, like, the first 10 pages of Revival and a couple other. That's when I got Revival a couple years ago, because they had that. You know, for a new book, which is different. You know, if you're going to go with, like, these new, totally different things, like, that's cool. But, like, this year I looked at it and was like, I'm going to go because they're going to have sales and it'll be cool. People will be dressed up and celebrate, but there's not one book that I really care to get. I mean, I'll grab a handful of books that are free, just do whatever, check them out. But I mean, there's nothing to get you in there, like book wise, that you know that you really want to get. So I do feel like they've dropped the ball a bit on the offerings. You know, like not even kids. Like last year they had that Scooby-Doo Batman, which was a reason like, hey, let's grab this, you know, for the kid or also for people our age that loved, you know, one of their favorite parts.
I mean, I got some things for Rory, for my daughter. I got there's an Elmo and there's a Tinkerbell, and I mean they were just previews of the #1. She ended up getting the Elmo comic later, and it was the same goddamn book, but more. So
so I mean, there's a couple things, but there's not. The offerings have dwindled a bit, but it'll still be cool. Still hit up the places. They'll be having sales and stuff. It's a good day. Probably most of the places that you live to get caught up on your back issues. So So go Wednesday and then go Saturday and get you some free pulls.